Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and on this episode what we're going to look at doing is going through a number of vehicle connectors that I use when I'm repairing either damaged wiring or I'm replacing damaged, worn out connectors, or even if I'm just putting a connector in place so that it means that I can separate the wiring if I need to take a component off or for any other sort of application. So what we'll do now is we'll jump right into it and take a look at the first connector. So here we've got the first type of connector that I'm going to show you today, and this is what they call a Scotch lock. So basically the idea behind this is there's a little metal tag in here, and that as you flip this over and push this down, it will bite through the wiring there. So we can try one of those now just to show you how they work. So you just pull this metal tag out slightly just so you can get the wire in, and then you feed the wire in through there like that, and then what I tend to do is just get a pair of normal pliers and just crush that in. Like so, and then this just snaps over like that. And you can put two wires in these ones, but what we'll do is we'll take this apart and then you can just have a quick look at what this does to the sort of outer sheathing of the wiring, just to see the connection there. So if we take that apart, we just pull this out. As you can see there, it just pushes through the outer sheathing of the wiring there into the copper wiring inside. There's not a massive surface area on these, so I don't really tend to use these ones, but they are quite a sort of fast fix. So if you're at the side of the road or something like that, they're quite handy. So that's the Scotch lock. So what we're going to do next is we'll look at the crimp style connectors. So basically you can purchase these in an assortment with all types of fittings on the end. So you've got ones like these that you just put the wire in, and you've got wire to wire, and they, once you've crushed those in place, they then don't separate. You've got the sort of open spade ones here, which as you can see, they will just push together. So you've got that type. Then you've also got the type with a eyelet on the end. These are great for doing like a vehicle earth or something like that, if you want to put it onto the body of the vehicle. So if you've got a nut or a bolt, sorry, you can slide that on, and then the wire's in here and basically crimped in place. And you've got different size ones for different wire applications. So the thicker the wire, you've got larger ones, you've then got smaller ones. You've also got the insulated ones. So you've got the insulated bullet style connectors here. So these ones just pop together like that. And then, as you saw earlier, we've got the uninsulated ones here with the female and male spades. So again, they just push together like that. So what we'll do is we'll grab one of these and look at just putting one of these together. So you can take the insulation off the wiring with either just a pair of side cutters if you're careful. So you can just work your way down like that and just take them off, or you can use some of the ratcheting types like this. You just pop the wire in there and it will just ratchet off what you need. So then it's just a case of pushing that into here, making sure that you've got a fairly good connection and it's not poking out too far here. See, actually this one's slightly too small for the wiring, for the thickness of the wiring, so we'll grab a bit thicker one, size up here. So we just pop that into there, just want to see the wiring just starting to come out at the end there. And there's a number of ways that number of tools you can use. You can use a manual style crimper, and it's just a case of, they're actually color coded on these, so you've got red, blue and yellow for the thickness of the crimp. Or what you can do is you can use an automatic ratchet style one. These are quite handy because you can sort of mock it up in place before you actually crimp it in. So you can hold that with your one hand, push that in nicely like that. So then we can just press down on that, and that gives you the right amount of tension on there. So that then just gives you a nice crimp on the bottom there, so you don't see it when it's that way up. And then you just give it a pull just to check. That's nice, good connection there. So then it's just the same with the female end, and then it's just a case of pushing those together like so. As I was saying earlier, you've got the different types. You've got the bullet style connector ones, which are then insulated. You've got the butt type ones there, so you've got your wire in and your wire in, and you just clamp those together. So for something in line, they're quite handy. And then you've got the earth style ones as well, or if you've got a battery terminal or something like that, all of those applications these are really good for. The only thing is, the drawback with these is, as you can see in here, some of these aren't waterproof. So if you've got a wire coming in like so, obviously you can get moisture and water and stuff like that in there, and then obviously inside this connector can get all green and it can fail over time. So the next ones we'll look at are some waterproof options, so we'll grab those now. So the next ones we're going to go through are what are called super seal or water seal connectors. So this one is actually a kit that I've bought. So what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description below. So if you're interested, you can grab them on there. But these are really, really smart, these kits. I'll just turn that around so you can see. So they come with a set of pliers as well. You can buy them with or without the pliers, but I advise that you get the pliers as well, just because then you can make a real good job of crimping the connections. So you've got your little waterproof bungs here, you've got your female and male connectors, and then you've got your different size plugs for the different size applications. So you've got, for example, the two-way connectors there. You've then got 3, 4, 5 and 6. So it goes right up from a single wire up to 6 in this particular kit. And you can also get other kits, or you can buy some other bits for larger applications. So if you get a chance to have a look at the R1 rebuild that I've been doing, you'll see that actually in that we were using a 12-pin connector kit. So what I'll do now is I'll pull some bits out of the kit and show you how that works, and then make a real nice solid watertight connection that you can open and close as well if you need to. So for things like an indicator where you need to take the lamp assembly out or something like that, they're really handy to have these, or any sort of connections underneath the vehicle as well, because you know that they're watertight. So yeah, we'll get on with that now. So what we'll do on this one, we'll do a two-way connection. So if you grab your female and male piece, you're going to want 2 male pins and then 2 female pins, and then just 4 of the water seals that go in the back. So move that out of the way. So I've just got some offcuts of wire in here that will, so what I tend to do first is to push these little waterproof grommets on first, so that once you've cut the outer sheathing off the wire and you try and push that on, it makes it a bit more challenging. So I tend to just push those on first, get them out of the way. So obviously on the vehicle or whatever you're working on, these work on all sorts of things, so whatever you're working on can be a bit more tricky than this here, but this is just the idea behind it. So we just thread those on, and then we just want to take a tiny little bit off the wiring, just like that there. We only need a very, very small amount. And then what we do is we bring this back up just to the edge of the outer sheath in there, and then, as you can just about make out there, that rubber grommet sits in there. Oh. That rubber grommet will sit in here, and then the wiring is clamped at the front piece here, and then the rubber grommet is held in by these two sort of ears that are folded over at the end. And again, in these pliers you've got different sizes, so you can just pop those in. What's quite handy is you can just sort of push these ears in slightly first by hand, and then you can use the first ratchet of this to just hold it in place while you sort of manipulate the wiring around to get it where you want it to be. So again, you want the wiring just poking through where you can see it there, and then you just push down onto the connection, just straighten that out a bit, and then there you go. You've got, it's crimped that yellow piece there, the grommet, and then the actual wiring is in the front piece here. So we'll do that with the other ones. Right, there we go. So we've now got all four of those all crimped on. So we've got two of the female and two of the male connectors. So what we can do now is looking at putting them into the plugs themselves. So you've got the female style plug, which takes the male connectors, and all you need to do is just take your plug piece here and just give it a bit of a wiggle, have a look through into the plug itself. Sometimes they need a little bit of a wiggle. Try that one. So that's gone through now, and then what you want to do is push it as far in as you can get it to go, like so, and then just pull on it again just to make sure that it's not going to come out the connection when the two are pushed together. So the good thing as well is that these are numbered so that you can match up. So you've got 1 and 2 here, and then they will match up with the 1 and 2 on the male when you put the male connector together. So that's quite a handy piece as well. So pop this other one in. Sometimes they do need a little bit of straightening just where they've been in the crimp tool. That's it. So then that one's in nice and tight, and I'm pulling on that one. So that's the female done with the male pins, and then we've got the male piece with the female pins. So basically you just push the two into there, and then when they're right up against this black section here, when they're right up against there, you can then push this red section in, and that will snap shut and clamp those in. So we've got yellow on number 1. So that's in there. That's in there. So they're now click right in. And if you can make out there, you can just see them pushing back through. So I'll just pull those back to just in line there. And then you pop that shut like that. And then in the end there, you've got your two connectors. And then it's just a simple case of just clicking those together. And there you go. You've got your watertight connector with the water seals in there. And you've also got the ability, should you wish, you can just unplug it just like that. So these are a really neat way of doing things as well. They look pretty factory. And as I say, once you've put those in, you should be able to just fit and forget. So that's the water seal or the super seal style connector. As I say, they come in a number of different sizes for different applications. So that's that one. And we'll move on to the next style connector. So the next connectors we're going to go through are these ones here. So these are a solder type waterproof connector. So again, they come in a variation of different sizes. So depending on the application that you're working on and the wire thickness, you can use different ones. So they've basically got a piece of solder right in the center here, and then you've got this rubberized piece here either side, which then creates a watertight seal. So basically you just warm these up to melt the solder and to make these rubber bits more malleable, and then they will shrink down onto the wiring and then hopefully create a nice watertight connection here. So what we can do is we can look at fitting one of those. So they also come with some additional heat shrink and stuff in this packet that we've got. So we'll use this style one here. So just move that out of the way. So I'm just using a little gas soldering iron. So I've just taken the end off. So I've just got the naked flame there. So again, we've just taken a little bit off of the end of the outer sheathing of the wiring here just to expose some of the internal copper itself. And then it's just a case of simply just pushing these through this, just so that you can then get the copper right up into where the solder is. And then it's the same for the other side. So we just pop that through in there, just push that in to there, and then you can see we got both sides there. So then what we'll look at doing, just got the blowtorch on nice and slow. You just wave that over it. That's starting to melt the solder now. And then I just run a little bit around the edges, just like that, just to bring the heat shrink in, and just let that all cool down. So I can see in there as well, the solder's started to melt into there. So, and then we've got a nice tight connection. These are all water sealed up. So I'm just pulling nice and tight on those. So that's not coming apart, and it's a nice water seal connection. So that is the connection there, all sorted. And then we'll look at the next one. So the next connection we're going to look at is what's called a Raycom connector. So the idea behind this one is that you can put multiple wires into here, and it's almost like a stopping point, as it were. So these are really quite good if you've got either like a multiple power solution that you want to try and resolve. So if you've only got room for, say, one wire coming off the battery, but then you want multiple smaller wires going off to various bits and pieces, you can put them in like that. And they're also really good for earths as well. So if you've got one earth point on the body, which will only take one of those yellow ringlet connectors that we showed you earlier, or something similar like that, these ones are then really good because you can put that ringlet connector onto the chassis, and then the other end of the wiring can come into here, and you can have multiple wires going into this here, like so. So they just push right up into there, like that. And as you can see, I've got plenty of room. You can get bigger and smaller ones of these. So yeah, if you've got multiple components that need a small earth, you know, sensors and various bits and pieces, but you've only got one on the body, you can just put those in like that. And again, like the connection before, they've got a solder piece in here, and then this all heat shrinks down. So, and they're nice and easy to work with as well, because you can hold the wiring all like that in one go, and you're not trying to fiddle with multiple wires and fight those. So what we can do now is we'll take some of the outer sheathing off of these, we'll warm this up. You can either use, like I've been doing, a small sort of like gas soldering iron or something like that, or another application you could use is like a heat gun or something. So we'll look at just having a go with these. So just push those right up into there. So just be nice and gentle with the heat on there. Just work your way around it, and so I've melted the solder now inside the joint. I'm just using the heat of that just to crimp that up there. So we've now got a watertight connection, or a very sort of good connection around here. This is all the solder melted in, and then as you can see, that's warm, giving that a nice pull, and they're all linked in. And then obviously these ones can all go off to where they need, so you can have that one on, say, your earth point or your power point, and then you've got 3 or 4 wires that can go off that may share the same earth point or power application. So as I say, I use these for earthing. I don't tend to use these for power because I'll run them with separate circuits and fuses and things like that, but for a multiple earth point, these are really handy. What we're going to do on the next one here is we're just going to use some solder and just do a normal style soldering connection. So we've just taken a bit off of each wire here. We've got some heat shrink, so that will just slide over the wire here. So when we're done, we can slide that back over like that, and then that will hide that connection. So we just put a bit of flux on each one. So just a bit of flux on each one, and that just helps the solder. I must say I'm not particularly good at soldering. I shake far too much. So then I've just got a little cheap gasless one. You can get a mains powered one if you want. There's various different ones, so that's now warming up in there. Better not burn the wooden bench. Put a bit of solder on the end of the iron. Then put that onto each wire. Like so. Then the idea, what we want to do is then heat these up and solder those two together. I've got a bit more that can go on. And we just heat the solder up between the two till it's melted, and then just pull it away from the heat like so, and then just let it cool off for a minute, and then like we've done in the other applications, just give that a tug just to make sure that that's all tight. And then this heat shrink, I might have picked one that's a bit too small for that. Again, the heat shrink comes in all different sizes, so you can put it on how you wish. So you just work your way over with the heat shrink like so, and then you can just either use the heat of the soldering iron to shrink it on, or you can use some like a lighter or something like that. So just turn that off now, and there, as you can see, we've got another watertight style connection, and that's nice and tight. I'm pulling on that, so that's the next version that you can use. That's quite simple to do. You can do them again and again and again, and you don't need a great deal once you've got the initial bits, but they can be a little bit fiddly, especially like I was saying, when I shake quite a bit, they're quite awkward to do for me, but you know, I hope that that's been helpful. So that's that connection. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully you found that information useful. So we've looked at a various number of connectors, the super seal style, we've looked at soldering, we've looked at Scotch locks, we've looked at some of the crimping connectors, and then we've looked at some of the heat shrink style ones with solder internally. We've looked at some of the benefits to those, some of the drawbacks, and we've also gone through each one and how you fit them, just to make sure that you get the best possible fitment. So if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, and we'll see you on the next one.